the Mark and Mark Show. Today we're going to go over our 2023 NFL predictions for the Coach of the Year, the Defensive Player of the Year, the Offensive Player of the Year, and finally we're going to finish it up on our predictions for the 2023 NFL MVP. So let's start with Coach of the Year. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to go with Dan Campbell out of Detroit.
Really?
I like the culture he brings to Detroit. I like his attitude. I think that the team's getting better for sure. I mean, look at the free agents they got on the defense. Going to stack the defense. Defense is better. Offensive line's probably the strongest point of the team, I think. I think they're going to run the ball. Montgomery from Chicago coming there. I think it's going to be a big pickup. Gibbs out of Alabama. I think he's a dual threat kind of running back out of the backfield. So I see a great year. I see a playoff team, maybe even a Super Bowl contender by the time the year's over.
I think that they're in a bad division, and I think that that's definitely going to help them out. And I know that when we went over our over-under, you had them over. How many wins do you think that they're going to get this year?
I'm thinking 12-13.
12-13
I think
wins?
a good year. I agree. Their division's horseshit, really. I mean, Aaron Rodgers gone. Chicago's building. I think Minnesota has a down year. I kind of agree with you on your picks. I don't think they're going to be where they were last year. I think they lose some of them tight games. I think Detroit has a really good year. They're going to be tough in the NFC. Right between, Philly and San Francisco, somewhere in there.
Interesting. See, I have them having a down year. I don't think that they can really replicate the success they had last year, let alone advance on that and become an even better team. My prediction for Coach of the Year, it's going to be Robert Saleh for the Jets. So
That's Jets.
Jets. So last year they were 7-10.
I don't like that.
7-10 last year, but you have to look at a couple of different things. Their offensive line was ranked 31st in the league last year, so it was very bad. Still not great, but it's going to be ranked 23rd, so it's up 8 from last year. If you guys to look out for Elijah Vera Tucker, he only played 7 games last year, but he's only allowed 1 sack across the last 276 pass blocking snaps. And another guy he's hurt a lot of the time, Mekhi Becton. He was an 11th overall pick from 2020. He was hurt a lot in 2021. Last year, he was out the entire season. But clearly, he has the size. He has the measurables to be successful. And then lastly, they got Dwayne Brown. They had him last year as well. He's older. He's definitely showing his age, but he's still a decent player. So I think if those guys can stay healthy on the offensive line, they also added, Aaron Rodgers, a massive pickup.
Might need a quarterback, but okay.
They got Aaron Rodgers, 2-time MVP of the last 3 years. They all at receiver, they got McCole Hardman, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, and then to their defense, they got Adrian Amos also from Green Bay. So I see them having a really good year. So I think last year they were 7-10. This year I see them on the low end being 11-6. High end I could see them being 14-3. Just because they like I said, they added a lot of guys. Their strength of schedule, it's not much harder than it was last year. Last year they had a really difficult schedule. This year they have a really difficult schedule. But if you look at the pickups that they got in the offseason, I think it's very easy to conceive of them winning, like I said, 11-14 games. If they do that, I think he's going to be the Coach of the Year.
I think it's Bryce Hall, running back. Is he healthy? When's he going to be healthy? He's a stud. I mean, if he's healthy, I don't know when he's going to be. Is he going to be ready for the season opener? Is he going to take a while? I'm not sure about that.
When he's ready, once he gets on the field, I think he's going to help them win games, whether that's by the season opening, even if it's halfway through the season, having them on their team, I think that he's going to contribute to them winning a lot of games, whether he comes in earlier or if he comes in a little bit later. But I think if you can look at Breece Hall, he's obviously a massive threat, very fast guy, catches a lot of balls out of the backfield. But look at, a guy we haven't talked about, Garrett Wilson. Aaron Rodgers is going to be throwing him the ball. So
he's a stud for sure.
There's a lot of components to that offense. I think it's going to be interesting to see
that's a tough division.
how they work that.
That's a tough division, though. Buffalo, I think it's going to be good. Miami's got a good ball club. I think New England might be a little bit better. It's going to be tough.
I think that's the only downside. Their division's tough. Their strength of schedule is very, very difficult. Yeah. But I think I see them overcoming that. So
they got a tough stretch early on in the season. We're going to find out real quick how good I think the Jets are. First 4 or 5 ball games. So.
Right. I could see that. So who's your pick for Defensive Player of the Year?
I'm going to stay with the Lions. I'm going to go with Hutchinson, defensive end. Detroit. I think he builds off last year. Last year, I think he had 9.5 sacks, 53 pressures. And believe it or not, he had 3 picks.
2 from Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. There you go. I think he's a T.J. Watts kind of guy. I think this year he just gets better. I think with the secondary help that they got in Detroit with Gardner Johnson, Mosley from the 49ers, I think the coverage in the back end gives him a little bit more time to get to the quarterback. I see him getting 15, 16 sacks. I think a big year for Hutchinson. I like the guy.
That's a lot of sacks. My prediction, I'm going to go same as you. I think Aiden Hutchinson is going to
Wow.
be. Yeah,
This might be the first time ever we agree on something.
I think the same thing. I saw a quote from his defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn. He says that he's going to continue to put him in a position to be successful, and he's expecting him to take another step this year as far as being a dominant player. He said that both being on the edge in the run and the passing game, so he said that there's no doubt he's going to be a better player this year than he was last year. And like you said, last year he had 9.5 sacks, 3 interceptions as a rookie.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I don't know, 15, 16 is a lot, but I'm definitely expecting double-digit sacks this year, over 60 tackles, obviously multiple for a loss, batted balls, and I think that he's going to get a few more forced fumbles this year, and I think that's really going to make a
hire they
difference.
got at a Penn State, John Scott Jr., defensive line coach, coached South Carolina, Penn State. Good coach. I think he brings a little bit, helps out Hutchinson even more.
He should. He definitely should. So, yeah, I agree on that one. Aiden Hutchinson's my pick as well. Offensive player of the year. Who's your pick?
Offensive player. I'm going to go Jonathan Taylor. I think he bounces back with a big year. I think with the coach they hired out of Philly, I think he knows how to get the run game going. I like if Richardson started, I think it opens up more for Jonathan Taylor, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Offensive line, I think they fixed that. They handled, I think, Soprano Jr. as a new offensive line coach. I think he helps that offensive line. They got the talent.
Oh, absolutely.
Nelson, Kelly, and the rest of the guys, they got the talent. They got good. I think he's going to have a big year if he can stay healthy. Last year, he was banged up, ankle injuries, never really got going. Had a great first game after that kind of stroke. I think he has a big year this year, bounce back year. Give me Jonathan Taylor.
To me, I think it's tough with Jonathan Taylor because a lot of people were saying he was going to win the MVP last year. And we saw such a drop-off. It almost makes me wonder, with running backs, you see, once they have that drop-off, oftentimes they never come back. Le'Veon Bell is a perfect example.
Yeah, but I think his drop-off, I think it was injury-related, though. I mean, if he had a year where he played all year, it wasn't nicked up and he struggled, but he was banged up. His ankles, hurt it a couple times.
It's not good, though, an ankle injury.
Yeah, high ankle sprains. It's healed by now. But you play football. You get a high ankle sprain, it's tough to that don't get healthy all year. You're playing on that all year. It's tender all year.
You got to wait for an off season.
Yeah, so I think he gets it back, and I think he has a big year.
It'll be interesting to see. I think I agree with you on the Anthony Richardson point. And I think I said in the other video, if they're going to sniff the over for their prediction, they're going to have Jonathan Taylor run for 1,700 yards.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
So I think with Anthony Richardson, he's a rookie quarterback. He has to get used to the NFL. Plus, watching him in college, we went over this. He's not able to read defenses the way NFL players do. So I think that he's going to take a lot of work as a player. And while they're doing that work, you're right, they're going to have to hand it off to Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, that's what I think.
So I get it. My pick for Offensive Player of the Year is Jamar Chase. As a rookie, he had almost 4,500 receiving yards, 13 touchdowns. Didn't play as many games last year, so he only had 1,046 yards and 9 touchdowns. He played 12 games as opposed to 17. But that's projected. If he had played the entire season, he would have had 1,481 yards with 12 touchdowns. So he was right there on par with his rookie season. I think this year is really the year that we see a big improvement from Jamar Chase and really take it to the next level. I think that we see 1,600 to 1,700 receiving yards, but in between 10 to 15 touchdowns from Jamar Taylor. Obviously, working with Joe Burrow. Burrow's a step better, getting better as a player, maturing as a quarterback. You can expect to see the same thing from Jamar Chase. Same age, starting to see him start maturing as a wide receiver and really making plays when it matters. So I think that although he was very, very good the last 2 years, we see another jump from him, and we see him on Justin Jefferson levels in regard to receiving yardage.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. He's top, 100%. He's a stud receiver, quick, he does it all. Big touchdown guy too. I think he has a big year.
Absolutely. So let's finish the video off with MVP.
MVP. That's why I like your Jamar Chase. I'm gonna go with Joey Burrow. I mean, I think he's got the weapons. Jamar Chase, he's got Higgins. Who's the guy in the slot? They got the guy in the slot. Tyler Boyd.
Oh, he's a stud.
Big player. He gets open a lot. Tight end's a little iffy. They lost Hurst this year. They're going to go with Irv Smith out of Minnesota. You might know a little bit about him.
Yeah.
Out of Alabama, he's a stud if he can stay healthy. I mean, he just hasn't been able to stay on the field. If he can stay healthy, that's another offensive weapon they bring to their table. I think he has a huge year this year. I know he's got to deal with Mahomes. I mean, I think his competition is Mahomes. I think Mahomes' weapons a little bit, losing Orlando Brown, and Cincinnati getting Orlando Brown, building the offensive line. I think the offensive line's better this year. That's what's killed Burrow in the past, getting sacked, getting banged up.
Mm-hmm.
I think they fixed the offensive line with Orlando Brown. He has a huge year this year.
I think that Burrow has a distinct advantage over Mahomes in the fact that Burrow's in a lot easier division
Oh, without a
than
doubt.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I
So it's
think,
going to be easy for him to put up big numbers against teams like the Browns. If Pittsburgh has a down year, he's going to put up a lot of yardage against them.
Yeah.
So I think that the path to MVP is a lot easier for Joe Burrow than it is with Mahomes, especially with my prediction, because I think the Raiders are going to be good this year. So Mahomes is going to be in a division where every team's going to be incredibly competitive.
Yeah,
He's going to have to win a lot of close games. So I agree. I think Joe Burrow is going to be at least in the MVP conversation. My pick for MVP though is going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that's a shock.
Yeah, 2 of the last 3 years he won MVP, and I'm gonna his 3-year averages. The last 3 years he averaged 4,036 yards a year, 37 touchdowns a year, and 7 interceptions a year. I think this year he got McCole Hardman. He has Garrett Wilson to throw to, and a guy you'd mentioned earlier, Breece Hall. Last year, rookie season, Breece Hall came out and had 19 receptions, 208 yards, and a touchdown in only 5 games. So I think that he's definitely going to get used in this offense. Plus, he has Randall Cobb to throw to still. He has a few weapons from Green Bay. So I see him having 4,500 passing yards, between 40 to 50 touchdowns, and maybe 3 to 6 interceptions, especially because of as I said earlier, the offensive line can stay healthy. I think that's what's going to keep those numbers where they're at. If we start seeing injuries there, we'll see more picks. We'll see less touchdowns, less passing yards. So I think the key to them is if their offensive line can stay healthy, puts Robert Saleh in a position to win Coach of the Year, puts Aaron Rodgers in MVP position. But if that offensive line breaks down, that's where we're going to see a lot of issues.
Only reason I say their schedule's tough.
Their schedule is tough.
They got a brutal schedule to start the season off. And like I said before, people got to start talking. If they start off 1-4, 1-3, Aaron Rodgers, I mean, what? We pay a lot of money for him. And then you get to the naysayers. And, I know Aaron, relax, but I don't know. That schedule's tough to put up all the yards and what it is. And, he's getting old. He's getting up there in the age. So, he's going to have a good year. I just don't think MVP quality like Joey Burrow.
Right. And when we've referenced their schedule a couple of times just so we can go over that. Week 1, they're playing Buffalo.
Loss.
Week 2, they're playing Dallas.
Loss.
Week 3, they're playing New England.
Maybe going to win.
I think that one's going to win.
I think that's a win.
Week 4, Kansas City.
Loss.
Week 5, Denver.
At Denver.
Correct.
Loss.
I mean, see, we
we
disagree on a lot of these.
Right there, but that is a tough first 5 games of the season.
It's tough, and I can tell you the week after they play Philly, that's going to be tough.
Add it to it. I mean, that's a tough schedule for a guy to produce all the numbers you're talking about.
I mean, 100%. If you look later in their schedule, the last few games aren't as difficult.
Yeah,
Houston, Miami, Washington, Cleveland, New England. But you're right. Even they have a bye after Philly. They have to come back and play the Giants, Chargers, Vegas, Buffalo, Miami. And only after that Miami game do we really see the schedule get easier. So week 13 to 18.
Early in the year, it's going to be big. I mean, they got to come out and win some of them games. Well, I don't think they're going to win. I mean, they got a chance. But if they start off 1-4 or something in there, that's going to be tough to overcome as the year goes on.
I think they'll be able to, and I don't think that they're going to be as bad the first few weeks of the season. I think that at Dallas, I still think they can win that one. They can squeeze it out. New England, I think they can win that one, especially it's a home game. Kansas City's going to be a home game as well. So I think that, they're definitely, I could see them, before their bye, I could see them going 4-2. It definitely wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, if they go out 4-2, look out.
Yeah.
I think the opposite. I think they go in there maybe 1-4, 2-5, something like that in that stretch, and then they got to, work their ass off to get there. And some of the receivers they brought from Green Bay, I'm just not sold on. And, Cobb, he's 80 years old. I don't think that's a big addition. He's his buddy. They're locker room addition for him. Lazard, he's a mediocre receiver. Garrett Wilson, stud, absolutely. And the other guy they got that didn't play a lot last year. I think it was Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Got benched a little bit. He could be a stud if he gets back on the field. But I think some of them guys they brought from Green Bay, it's just guys that he's familiar with. I don't know how much they're going to put up offensive production, though.
Right, I could see that. So that's it for our predictions today. Thanks again for watching the Mark and Mark show, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out.